According to new reports, two sources that have been briefed on the goings-on with the Fulton County District Attorney's grand jury investigating Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. The two people say that Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, has now put forth a list of potential charges that Donald Trump and some of his co-conspirators may be charged with. And that list has now been presented to the grand jury, with the grand jury now having the ultimate decision: which do we charge? Do we charge all? Do we charge some? Or do we charge none? This is basically one of the final steps that happens with a grand jury before indictments are handed down. So I think at this point, it is relatively safe to say that possibly within the next 2 weeks, we will see indictments coming out of the state of Georgia, which, by the way, does fall into Fani Willis's timeline that she recently handed out, so that's not exactly a massive revelation. What is a revelation, however, is that some of the charges that are being considered are charges that had not been previously discussed. Let me read them. Among the state election law charges that prosecutors were examining, criminal solicitation to commit election fraud and conspiracy to commit election fraud, as well as solicitation of a public or political officer to fail to perform their duties and solicitation to destroy, deface, or remove ballots. Now let me explain what that means. This is from The Guardian. For criminal solicitation charge, prosecutors would have to show that Trump persistently requested another person to engage in certain illegal conduct that are likely and imminent as a result of the solicitation. The fact that the solicited acts were not carried out is not considered a defense. The statute for soliciting a public officer to fail to perform duties could apply to Trump when he pressured the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to find 11,780 votes, as well as his phone calls to Chief Investigator Francis Watson and House Speaker David Ralston. Number 2, the statute for soliciting the tampering of ballots, meanwhile, could apply to Trump when he pressed Watson to go beyond protocol to go back 2 years, as opposed to just checking, one against the other, in conducting signature checks during ballot audits. And number 3, prosecutors are also expected to seek a criminal conspiracy charge, the people said. The conspiracy statute in Georgia is interpreted broadly, and the district attorney's office would only need to show that 2 or more people tacitly came to a mutual understanding to further a crime. That could also be the Coffee County incident where people paid by Sidney Powell, who at that point was one of Trump's lawyers. She paid the dude to go down to Coffee County. The Coffee County election worker gladly let him in, let him copy all the information. The information was then uploaded to a private server accessible to Donald Trump and his people. Just the accessing of the voting machine data, by the way, is 100% illegal in that particular instance. And then you have the uploading, the accessing. So you've got a lot of potential activity here. And it should also be noted that the RICO laws in Georgia are very broad enough to where if Trump did something in another state, it is possible, not saying it's likely, but it is possible that Willis's jurisdiction could extend to those potential areas as well. So what does all of this mean? Just to kind of put it in a nutshell real quick, it means Trump is screwed. And he's even actually more screwed than I had thought he was. Because as we know, if Donald Trump gets convicted in Georgia and then becomes president of the United States, he can't pardon himself for state crimes. But I had actually incorrectly suggested the other day that the Georgia governor could pardon him. But I was wrong. Somebody, social media pointed that out to me, so I looked into it. I should have looked into it first. That was my fault. But no, Georgia is actually one of 3 states in the United States where the governor does not have clemency power. So even if Trump gets convicted in Georgia, he can't be pardoned by a Republican political operative. Now, a little bit of a gray area there because the governor cannot pardon him, but the state does in fact have a pardon board that is made up of people who are, get this, appointed by the governor. So the governor kind of could, but it would be a bit of a hassle and it would be very obvious. So if Trump gets convicted in Georgia, he's pretty screwed. And it looks like Fani Willis is doing everything possible, just throw the whole kitchen sink at him when it comes to charges. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.